apart from the photo of Kwara State governor visiting the president. Now, maybe let's start with the story of the day, as it were. That is the lead story of this day on Sunday. I think the proposal from the Constitutional Review Committee that a new state should be created in the southeast is, arguably, indisputably, a commendable act, of political engineering, which, if it says true, that is when the Constitution is reviewed and the process, comes to completion, it will actually redraw the geopolitical map of Nigeria, in the interest of fairness, justice and equity. Because for too long, in fact, the question may even be that why has it taken so long, for the political elite, to see the inequity, in the fact that of all the of all the 6 zones, it's only the southeast that has, fewer than 6 states. Yeah. In fact, northwest, actually has 7 states. So I think if it is true, it will be in the interest of national integration. It will be in the interest of national unity, because it is essential, for national integration that the sensibilities, of every region or every section, should be, duly respected, and the subjective undercurrents of Nigerian politics, Nigerian politics and Nigerian polity, should not be ignored. And that is the fact that the southeast, of the country, has this sense, of injustice, sense of, being, pushed to the margin, of national politics. And I think if this, exercise, as it is contemplated, a constitution, it will go a long way, in redressing, that injustice. Which, in fact, I wouldn't say.
But people have also said that it is the smallest in the, geopolitical zone by landmass, regardless of, that sort of conversation. What do you make of that in terms of the idea of it being unjust? Is it by the landmass or the amount of states there is? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, we're talking of equity. Yeah. There are 6 zones. In the south, there are 3 zones, in the south, The other 2 zones of the southwest and the southeast, regardless of what the landmass would be.
Regardless of the landmass.
Each of them, has, 6 states, I think it's just, for geopolitical fairness, and equity. If there is one state, that should be created, it should be the south. It should be the one. That's one state, as may be agreed upon the way the map is redrawn, in the south state. And of course, the other elements, of the proposition from the review committee are also, welcome. The idea of independent candidates, maybe if you have independent candidates, then it will be good. It will actually be a challenge, for political parties, to, for political party leaders, to properly, put their organizations, in a more solid, pedestal, knowing full well that if any member who is strong enough politically, and has the clout, is treated unfairly, he could, stand on his own as an independent candidate and contest election, So, that could actually, in a reverse way, help in strengthening, the party system, because, there will be a categorical challenge, to the existing orders, And the other provisions, like having seats, for women and the rest, I think they are good, So that's why I say that
welcome development.
It's a welcome development.
Yes.
It's good.
Now, Mr. Keke, this independent candidacy thing, though, would you say it's strange? I mean, haven't we seen that before in our political system? Haven't we seen people try to run as independent candidates? And how would you assess how it has worked so far? And with regards to the proposal for new states, especially in the Southeast, if I do say so myself, the Southeast states that do exist, how well have they been managed? I was having a conversation with an analyst a couple of days ago on air, and we're talking about road infrastructure and safety of the roads, and how Lagos is about to get into that, I think, for over 400 million, I think, pound, euro deal with Paris on how we can use our waterways as a form of transportation. And he told me, for lack of a better word, the reason why this keeps happening in cities like Lagos is because those other areas are rural areas. So when you have situations where the state of infrastructure in these states are so bad, the roads are so terrible, the standard of living is so poor, what are we doing with another new state to add to the degradation that we already see in the East? Or is it supposed to suddenly become a haven that people that did not do what they were supposed to do in those states will now do in the new state?
Yeah, Kashi, yes. The point you are making, could be valid. That is talking in general terms.
Yeah.
So what you are saying of the Southeast will have as well said of the Southwest or Northwest or Northeast. Yes, and that is why generally there is this criticism that you should not have multiplication of estates that will just be replicating bureaucracies and and creating offices. But in the case of the Southwest, it's a matter of geopolitical equity. It's quite a different issue, and that is why I was saying that that if there is only, that in fact that only one state should be created, and that state should be in the Southeast. So what you are, what you have pointed out, which might be true and valid in general terms, does not make the logic, for justice and equity, for the creation of a Southeast state to be impeachable. I think the logic is so solid that it's unimpeachable. That is if you view it from purely geopolitical terms. What you have said applies to every state.
So it's okay if the state exists on paper then, because if we're looking at it from purely geopolitical, that means it's clearly a paper issue. But when it comes to allocation of resources, that's not geopolitical. That is physical infrastructure. So that geopolitics eventually becomes a physical, tangible problem that requires resources, which clearly, unless they're telling us that there are resources that are not being used in those other states. So that's where my own, but I do hear you on the geopolitical issue.
I see your point, but the other way I think we should look at it is that if you are talking of viability of states, that perhaps maybe you can count the number of states that can pass the test of viability on your fingers.
Very true.
So I'm saying that that what we are saying is valid in general terms. But we are not talking of geopolitics. In the interest of national integration. And that is the point where which the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kanu, that this matter, should be viewed purely from national interest. It is only if you look at it from that prism, that we'll be able to see, what I see as the subjective undercurrents, of Nigerian politics, which should be dealt with by this exercise.
So I agree with you in terms of geopolitical equity. Really on point with that. I think that it is fair that a new state be created in the Southeast. Do you want to take another story on this state before we move on
to perhaps style?
Yes, we'll go to style. But do you want to touch on Afrexim Bank? Or
yes, of course. Congratulations to be in order, for our man, Professor Rama, He has done, Nigeria very proud, during his tenure at Afrexim Bank. And I think perhaps we should therefore not be surprised that a Nigerian is also succeeding, because to have moved, the asset of the bank from, eightfold, is quite a feat, that should be commended.
Fantastic. Congratulations, Professor Benedict Orama.
Absolutely. Now, I believe
want to take this
of course,
day style?
we can take this day style today. And the cover for this day style this morning, we see Governor Biodun Abayomi, yes, Oyebanji, seeking a new mandate. He is on the cover 3 years into his tenure. Governor Biodun Abayomi Oyebanji has earned a reputation for quiet effectiveness, the kind of leadership that favors results over rhetoric. That's exactly what that cover opens with this morning. Of course, when you see a cover like this, you can always tell that it's beyond what you see on the surface. You can find that on the cover of This Day Style. You can find This Day Style online this morning. Yeah, I think that's basically what we see.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations to him.
Best wishes to Governor Ebanji.
And
don't forget that he's gearing up for his primaries.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we wish him well.
Yes.
As he goes to the trenches. Yeah.
As he goes to the trenches.
Yes.
What do you describe? Why do you describe it as trenches?
No, it's going to be a battle. I mean, to get the party ticket for him, I mean, it's going to be about it. So we wish him well.
Uphill task.
Okay.
He's a gentleman, and he has brought a lot of refinement into Ekiti politics.
All right. Congratulations.
During his tenure.
Congratulations. Shall we now?
We can take a look at
Punch
newspapers. Exactly. I think we can do that.
A bunch of stories on the Punch newspaper.
Quite interesting stories.
Yes, Mr. Komolafe, for your perusal, for you to pick the lead story there. Soludo's cash for votes pledge stirs controversy. That's a lead story there. And the riders are governors more dangerous open vote buying. I mean, this is from the opposition CSOs. Another rider, Electoral Commission to deploy over 22,000 ad hoc staff. PVC collection suffers setback, ends today. This is quite unfortunate, these PVC setback. I think that we are beyond this sort of news at this stage in our electoral process. Having not being able to, collect your PVC, how are you able to vote? This sort of how they disenfranchise voters in Nigeria is quite alarming and should be looked into, really. Another, the story above the masthead on Punch newspaper, Lamido Wike camps reject consensus deal for PDP chairmanship. Ex-soldiers fume over lifetime benefits for sacked service chiefs. I wonder, what does that mean? Ex-soldiers fume over lifetime benefits for sacked service chiefs. The soldiers are upset that there's lifetime benefit for their service chief. I mean, how does that sound to you, Mr. Komolafe? I would like your thoughts on that actual story, Mr. KK. But before you do, I'll quickly read through the other stories there. 2027, ADC to drag APC before ECOWAS over attacks. National Assembly Committee approved new state for Southeast. We've just discussed that. Mass killings not targeted at Christians alone, says PFN President Bishop Oke. And then 10 neglected killer deceased, sending Nigerians to neglected killer diseases, sending Nigerians to early grave. I'd love to read that. I'm sure cancer will be, of course,
definitely has to be. The story beside it just speaks to that.
Wrong cancer diagnosis. Chemotherapy made me enter menopause, says a fashion designer. And this is not a lone story. I have heard countless of stories of hospitals that diagnose patients that do not have cancer.
Very true.
And, they end up taking this chemotherapy and eventually succumb to a disease that they never had. All right, what story would you like to pick? Mr. Komolafe, would you want to start with the ex-soldier story, or would you want to
cash for votes?
Okay, the ex-soldiers, I think the thing would be that if the payment of gratuities, and emoluments of service chiefs in retirement, I think they are defined in the books, I think what anybody can quarrel with is that if anything is done outside outside the role, you know. But it would be unfair to say that, you know, those who are just retiring now, you know, should not enjoy the same benefits as people before them, you know. So, but from the story, you know, I mean, nothing has been detailed, you know, to show that, you know, that there's a divergence, you know, you know, I mean, a contravention, you know, of the rules, you know. I think that there is room for it to amend, you know. And then also the story. Let's
touch on the lead story.
On the lead story. Yes, you know, I think we should be careful, you know. I mean, don't forget, you know, Anambra State is in the thick of
the election season.
You know, allegations, you know, and political tirades, you know, because if and more also, really, when the allegations, you know, are criminal, you know, in nature, you know. So I mean, we should be very careful in the way we put it, you know, because from the I tried to check the story, you know. Again, nothing, you know, nothing concrete, you know, because if you are because I mean, what you call vote buying really, you know, to me is a euphemism, you know, for I mean, for bribe, you know, for corruption, which is in the books, you know, is criminal. So I think it should be the matter should be taken beyond political tirades, you know, and be done properly. So there is nothing concrete, you know, in the allegation. That is why we should be very careful in
analyzing it.
You don't see what he said as an inducement for people to buy votes?
No.
But if I may just read what he said when he was speaking on Saturday during the party's campaign in Orumba South local government area. He said, when we were campaigning, and I quote, these are not my words, when we were campaigning for the Senate, we knew we were going to win every ward in the South senatorial zone, but we still had some incentives. Any award that APGA won, any ward that APGA won received 1 million naira, and we won all the wards in Orumba South. We promised each of these wards 1 million, and next week we will redeem it. The ward that comes first will get 5 million, the second 3 million, and the third 2 million. That was the deal. For November 8th, any ward that wins again will receive 1 million naira, while the first 3 performing wards will get 5 million naira, 2 million naira, and 1 million naira respectively. Now, from the perspective of the fact that this is an incumbent governor, so obviously the resources are available, when you tell somebody in Orumba, or let's even say any ward in the south, in this area, in the southeast, you know, zone, specifically Anambra State, that you're going to give them 5 million naira, if everybody riles up themselves to go and vote so they can win.
Kachi, thank you for reading that out, because I didn't even hear him speak. So, like we said, the context was misplaced. This is clear vote buying.
This is vote buying.
That's what it is, Mr. Komolafe.
It doesn't get more vote buying than that.
There's nothing more clear than that. I mean, how is this possible that we are allowed
and he says this so freely
in public as a, you know, governor of the state? It's quite an indictment, don't you think, Mr. Komolafe?
Yeah. Can I say something on that? No. I think we are confusing, you know. You see, a clarification is necessary. You know, that it's necessary in Nigeria, the way we, you know, talk about vote buying and, you know, our monetization of politics. You know. There is nowhere in the world where you prepare for election and political parties...
Wait, sorry, I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah. I said there's a need for clarification. You know, there's a need for clarification on this matter. You know, the way we present, you know, this idea of vote buying. You know, I see vote is a commodity in the market that, you know, politicians buy. You know, that our what we call the monetization of politics. You know, now when parties prepare for election, definitely they spend money. There is mobilization. It's legitimate. It is done anywhere. It is done in America. It is done in Britain. You prepare your structures. You know, those people who are going to mobilize. You know, people. You know, for the election. You know, there is nothing that
you can do it within your committee.
Can I comment?
Yes, please. Yes, go ahead.
He's talking. He's addressing the ward structure, the ward executive. You know, that is the way it is done anywhere. So if you let me give an example. If you're having an election, you need to send party, party agents to every polling booth. Every polling booth. Now to move from wherever you are to the polling booth, So if the party, decides to, pay for your transport, or even pay for your refreshment and feeding that day, that is nothing corrupt about that. It's nothing. So, let me just finish. And I'm saying that is done everywhere. In the last American election, you saw people carrying snacks, refreshment, to people who are waiting to vote. So we should not demonize the process. That is different from saying that a voter, is on the queue, you approach him and then you say, you give him money so that you go and vote. That one is an offense. That is why during the election you have ICPC, FCC, people, around, and if anybody commits that kind of a criminal act, the law, the law should take its course. But you cannot say that a party that decides to fund its electoral process, the structures, how to mobilize it, and you criminalize it.
Mr. Keke,
we should separate this. That you cannot conduct election without spending money.
All right,
that is so and we should separate between legitimate electoral expenses from corruption and putting and we shouldn't demonize politicians on the there are two different things here.
There is electoral expenses, no doubt. Respectfully, Mr. Keke, I disagree with you on this one. He was not addressing his committee. He was saying it at a rally.
Yes.
This is in front of millions of people because it was not only within that place, it was televised live. So, how can you, in good conscience, not say that is inducing your voters to vote for you? That clearly is what he did, Mr. Komolafe.
And if I may just add to what OJ has said, an understanding of how voting works is the voting is done in such a way that wherever you live, there should be at least somewhere close to you within your community or ward, as they call it, that you can, sometimes it's even a walking distance from where you live, where you can easily go to vote. Now, the very act of procuring food, drinks, it's done within the community, within the people voting to encourage themselves and support themselves. The people who are conducting these elections are members of are hired by the electoral team to do their job. That is a job they're performing. But when a governor who is in power at a rally turns his election into a contest, a competition, and he says, I will give the highest voting ward 5 million naira. First of all, weaponizing poverty, because I had just spoken about that. The fact that these wards actually would use this money, and they need the money. So that is weaponizing the poverty that exists in your state. Not only are you weaponizing the poverty that exists in your state, you're now turning it into a case of, well, even if I was going to vote for this person, this will bring 5 million to my community. Let me vote for them. This happened in India. It is the exact same thing. It is vote buying.
That's what it is, clearly.
Okay, can I say something now?
Yes.
You ladies are getting it wrong.
How is it?
Yes, no. For instance, okay, let me tie this story then, to another story on the front page. You are talking of a PVC, collection having it. Now, so if a political party says that for its members, at the world level, at the state level, at local government level, as a challenge, to encourage them to mobilize people to go and register to collect their PVC, and then you say that, okay, for maybe for a ward, if you are able to mobilize, as many people as possible, to vote, you will get 1 million naira, you will get 5 million naira. How does that?
PVC is a general use. He's not telling them go and vote.
I listened to you when you were making your point, Kashi.
Apologies.
Would you please listen to me here? So what I'm saying that is funding is structural, to mobilize, So if is there any serious political party that will go into election, without making provision, for its structures, at the state level, at the local government level, at what level, for its members to be able to to organize the election? I'm saying that for instance, the agents you pay for the agents, they have to be paid. Their welfare, you have to take care of it. Logistics, you have to take care of it. All this costs money, and when money is spent, money is spent on that, I'm saying that it is legitimate money. We should not demonize politicians, and we should not denigrate the process until it is done everywhere.
Can we wrap up this conversation? I think that we're going around circles here. You have made your point, which is there is electoral expenditure, which is legitimate, right? But you're missing the point about the fact that he is inducing his voters by going live, addressing the rally with that comment. That's really all it is. Once you do that...
And I'm saying that you are making an unfair allegation against him.
It's not unfair.
It's unfair because...
I'm sorry, did you just read what he said?
You are accusing the governor of criminality.
No, if I may just again, if I may...
accusing him of criminality, I'm saying it's unfair.
What he did.
You cannot repeat what he said. You cannot prove it.
If I may,
I'll get a video.
If I may,
I'll get a video.
Legitimate electoral expenses from electoral offenses, bribing people.
Okay, if I may, Mr. Komolafe, I'm glad that we've made the distinction between electoral expenditure and vote buying. So let's see what the governor was trying to address. He said, and I will just read this specific part. He first of all said, any ward that won the South Senatorial Zone ticket received 1 million naira. This is what he said has been done before. Now, he has said that they have promised each of the wards 1 million naira and they are going to receive it. The ward that comes first in voting, not in electoral expenditure, will get 5 million naira. The second will get 3 million and the third will get 2 million. That is the deal. Any ward that wins, not any ward that goes, it is here, Mr. Keke.
Thank you.
Any ward that, not any ward that goes out.
By the way, did you watch the rally?
Any ward that wins.
Did you watch the rally?
I watched the rally.
Did you hear him say this?
Any ward that wins.
My reading of it is different from yours. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm afraid it's different.
All right. Okay. We'll agree to disagree at this point. All right. Shall we take another paper?
We may take, I mean, unless there's nothing else we want to address. Did we speak about the ex-soldiers filming over?
Yes, he did. That was the first story.
Yes, I think those were the major stories that we saw on the Sunday.
Do you want to take the Tribune?
I can take the Tribune. I think we can take the Tribune. I think it speaks to the same issue. Shake-up imminent in the military. GOC's other commanders may go. Seniors of new service chiefs to be redeployed to defense headquarters. Now, there is also a conversation on the constitutional review. The National Assembly panel adopted creation of additional states in the Southeast. We just spoke about that. The seat for women per state in Senate, according to the reps. I think what I find really interesting here as well is the story on the bureaucracy fueling corruption and inefficiency in NDDC. I'm going to take a look at the masthead. That story, Oni Alafin meets to and agree to promote Yoruba unity and peace together. I think those are the major stories that we will find on the Tribune today, many of which we have spoken about, but I do find the story by Ndoma Egba on NDDC. What exactly is fueling bureaucracy, corruption, inefficiency? What are the issues? And on page 5 of the Tribune, you will find that there's a story on the November convention for PDP, where PDP names Jegede, Oyinlola, Odenwa, 10 others to screen applicants. You know, they're Wike and attending this. And there's a condition there. I'll only attend the convention if we don't know what that if is yet. Southeast lawmakers also threatening to boycott this convention. Convention. The drama continues to unfold.
What story would you like to address?
I think it is in the supreme interest of a PDP that the November convention should hold, because by definition, the convention of a party is the highest organ, so that, and that highest organ should be able to resolve the lingering issues, afflicting, the party, in a definitive manner. So it is important that all the factions, all the tendencies, should ensure that that convention holds, and the party, should come out of the convention stronger, as a major opposition.
Can they, though?
You said?
You said the party should come out of the convention stronger. Now, if they're looking at a situation where there's a threatened boycott by Southeast governors, there's Wike on the other hand, who is still a member of the PDP, but it's not a secret anymore that, you know, he has been tagged as part of the problems that the PDP is facing. And now he's saying that he will only attend the convention if, what are the likelihoods or the chances that it would? You know, you said it should, meaning that ideally that's a utopian situation, but what's the likelihood that it actually would if we're looking at practical terms?
Okay, maybe to add to my suggestion that PDP before November should make effort to answer the Wike question, you know, which has...
There is no answer to the Wike question.
which has been before the party, you know, for so long. So I think that ultimately the PDP will have to find an answer to the Wike question.
Right. Yeah. Guess what, Mr. Komolafe? Yeah. You know the question I asked you about these soldiers fuming over the retirement benefits?
Yes.
On the leadership today, Sunday's leadership on Sunday, the lead story there says, highlighted the retirement benefits. And it says service chiefs to go home with bulletproof SUVs, Prado Jeeps, and $60,000 for medicals.
Wow.
I mean, that's the amount of 60. I mean, I think it's great, though. What do you see?
See, when you said the service chiefs were fuming, OG, I have to be honest.
The soldiers.
I was like, you know, the soldiers, why are they fuming?
Yes.
But you see, these are the issues, and that's exactly what I said earlier, Mr. KK. There's nothing wrong with addition, and multiplication, and flamboyance, and, you know, living large and expanding your terrain.
Yeah.
But when it becomes a problem is when you're doing that at the expense of other people's suffering. And I would explain what I mean. These soldiers, we had a conversation with Chitra yesterday on the morning show.
Okay.
She wrote a book about the experiences of soldiers and the experiences of people who have had to deal with insurgency from the perspective of soldiers and victims. And one of the things she greatly highlighted was the welfare of these soldiers and how poor it is, how poor their welfare is, and how difficult sometimes it is for them to even have the morale to work. Now, when you look at a story like this, it paints a picture of a very, very, very buoyant space where even the soldiers that are fighting, for you to be getting this kind of, you know,
there's more.
There's more. There's more.
There's more. Also, 15 domestic aids. 27 guards and others.
OG, I don't know if you're trying to make it better or make it worse.
I'm helping you with your,
but the point
with your analysis.
When we give this...
Also, major generals receive $15,000 each for medicals yearly.
When some soldiers cannot afford to send their kids to school and they are fighting on the battlefield and we expect insurgency to stop, how do we make it make sense?
The first question to ask is that this provision, is it a new one? Is it specific to those who are just retiring?
It appears so, because otherwise it wouldn't make the headlines. It appears so.
No, I'm saying that, you know, it is not, you know. So if we want
are you saying that it's not?
It's not.
It's not new.
Oh, it's not.
It's not. I'm saying that
this is not new.
It's not new. I'm saying that it's. Well, I mean, what is in the
I think it's an upgraded benefit for the soldiers, for SAC service.
What I'm saying that, I mean, there are rules. You know,
yes,
I mean, the military. Don't forget it. I mean, in particular, you know, it's a discipline. I mean, it's a disciplined, you know, organization, you know, and there are rules, you know, for recruitment, for retirement, you know, for their benefits. All these are spelled out in their program, you know. So if we have any issue with it and you want to, you know, call for a review,
yes,
of course, that will be, I mean, that will be legitimate,
yes,
you know.
Yes.
You know, I see the argument Kashi is making, you know, that, you know, especially when we are in a difficult economic situation, you know, that should be reflected, you know, in I mean, the expenses we make in every sector in terms of, you know, benefits, in terms of compensation, you know, that should be. And I also agree that even within the military, that, you know, there should be, you know, that's a sense of redistributive justice, you know that, you know, across, you know, the ranks, you know. But the impression should not be given, that these items, or benefits that you are rolling out, that they are specific to the service chiefs that are just retiring. I've said no, it's not. We should not give that impression. So if you want to call for a review, of course you can call for it.
Yes, I mean,
but I'm just saying that it's not a new creation. But then, like every other program, is subject to a review and also subject to criticism.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I'm up for better welfare for soldiers. I mean, it is important. It is paramount that they get the best that they can, because obviously they are the ones protecting the nation. But, the welfare has to go across board. It shouldn't just be for, retired service chiefs. Our soldiers are lamenting, and like you said, we need a review of that. Well, Mr. Komolafe, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us. Oh, there's a Guardian?
There's a Guardian. Before we even take into the Guardian, I was just going to say that I find the Sunday Sun a very ironic cover. While we check for the Guardian, it talks about the appointment of new service chiefs and, of course, that very, very massive take-home package. But just below that main story, now goes to tell us how bandits and kidnappers are unleashing sorrow on Kogi communities. So I'm not sure, is this supposed to be like a bittersweet type headline? Yeah. But again, it just speaks to where we are and the reality on ground at the end of the day, which is exactly what we've just spoken about. But I do not think that
we don't have the Guardian.
The Guardian today. So I guess that would be all.
That would be all. Mr. Komolafe, I'd like to thank you. Did you want to add something before we wrap? Do you want to make a final
just to make a correction in your summary, I am not calling for any review because I mean the facts,
You're not calling for a review for the soldiers?
Yes, you are saying that the benefits, the reported benefits, for the service chiefs, that it should be a review. What I said is that it's legitimate for people to call for a review.
Yes,
but that does not
review for the soldiers or review of what? I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Okay.
What did you say?
I think the point at issue, at issue here is the benefits, for the service chiefs. Don't forget that the story is focusing on the benefit for service chiefs. And I'm saying that...
Oh, you're not calling for the review for the benefits.
Yes.
But we're calling for the review for the soldiers. That's what I meant. Sorry. For the soldiers. We need better pay for our soldiers because they are the ones protecting our nation. That's what I said. Sorry.
I cannot agree more.
Thank you, Mr. Komolafe, as always. Thank you for joining.